Well, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids, how about you guys hop on in real quick? We got some really interesting stuff. Did you guys, I saw a few of you guys saying, hey, what if we get a Newt gun capital ship? I'm like, they wouldn't do that, right? Everyone's got a Newt gun. Well, my tune changed a tad bit today because we have a lot of, I guess, leaked stuff behind the scenes, and at the very minimum, what we're gonna see today, I think it's a really cool look what's going on behind the scenes over at Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Come on over, a lot of cool stuff with Darth Maul reworks, Newt Gunray's Trade Federation ship. Let me show you what we got here today. So before we get into this, I want to kind of highlight a few things here. Number one, this was posted, I guess, a couple weeks ago on ArtStation from, I'm not sure if they're current or ex-Capital Games developer, and this was just shared to me today. Someone saw it and they're like, wait, dude, do we have some of this stuff in the game? We're seeing reworks for a variety of characters and ships that haven't been released. And I'm like, no, this might be something worth talking about here. However, I want to let you guys know the process with Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. They have artists working around the clock, creating assets for even things that might never come to the game. I want to make that clear. They just make it because if they ever do decide to do it for whatever reason, they have the asset in the vault and they can finally, put some bones on it and everything. Pretty much all these are just like the 3D models that we're going to see. And then maybe down there, they'll add a kit, add animations, all that other fun stuff. So I want to put it out there. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing, I'm not saying all this is coming to the game, but some of this seems interestingly timed, especially with also a Grandmaster Yoda rework. So inside this art station, you can find examples of new style characters they were doing, the Ewok upgrades, some character reworks as well, I'll show you here, as well as some ships and vehicles. And here kind of gives you a little bit of an insight what this looks like. So when they want to do a new character, even something like a rework, they got to get Lucasfilm approval. It just has to get done to make sure that the way the character looks or the ship or vehicle looks matches what they want for their license, as well as the animations have to kind of be on point as well. So this is one of the few things that they got to do to get approval to Lucasfilm, and that's why I say I guesstimate to actually create a new character and ship probably takes a year and a half to maybe 2 years with all the approvals, the back and forth, the developing, and all that other fun stuff, the game balance aspect of it all. But we do the game balance part right around here. Anyways, you can see a couple of different examples that they have with their vehicles, their ships. I mean, for example, here, I'm not gonna look too much into this, but people are asking, why isn't there an R2D2 with Anakin? As we see here, we have the Episode 3 Anakin's Starfighter, and there's R2D2 there. And we're surprised R2D2 isn't a pilot jet on Anakin. So again, there's tons of assets, even for things you don't even know should be assets. They probably have them done inside the vault. And what I'm curious about, if these were released on this guy's art station, so you can see these are obviously confidential, maybe he was cleared to do so because maybe nothing's gonna come of it. They're like, yeah, sure, go ahead and share this stuff. But also we saw that there's indication that we are getting some of this stuff. We'll explain as we go along. A little confused. Some of these guys have, it looks like timestamp stuff. So this was probably submitted in 2019. But as we're gonna see, it looks like some of the newer stuff they're working on, they're not putting a year timestamp on. So it makes things a little bit more complicated to follow. So anyways, with that overview, let's kind of walk you through some of this stuff. So for example, Mace Windu. We know he got a rework a couple years ago, an art rework, and then he got the actual character rework. And as you can see here, Mace Windu, parentheses, rework. And as you can see, there's no timestamp in it. So it's one of the more recent things that they've done. Here's the old asset, the new asset. Looks much cooler, right? It looks more Mace Windu-y versus this is, I guess, kind of more Clone Wars-y, what the old asset has. So let's keep moving on. The next thing we have here is the Darth Maul rework. So I want to make it clear. We already have the new asset in game, right? This is the look that we already have. And as you can see, this is a Darth Maul rework, and there's no timestamp, no year timestamp. This is something they've done pretty recently. This is the old asset, and the submission's called a Darth Maul rework. So it could simply just be an art rework, and that is it, because that is what we already have in the game. But I'm wondering if we are going to get the follow-up. Generally, when they touch up some of these characters, like Mace Windu, they throw on some new bones via an actual kit rework at that point. And we're in the Phantom Menace anniversary. It is going to be one of the biggest missed opportunities of all time if we actually do not get a full-on Darth Maul rework. He is useless except being Darth Bane's, I guess, minion to sacrifice or the stealth feats inside of Conquest. So I want to put it out there. We're still at least waiting for one more major update for the Naboo raid. They might sneak in the actual full-blown rework that maybe this was originally submitted for here. Oh, and also funny, I think Galaxy's code name was Falcon, Star Wars Falcon. That's my guesstimation that this is probably their code name. Every game's got a code name when they're working on it behind the scenes before they're officially announced. So a little fun fact, right? Moving on. We have Clone Wars Chewie. So this kind of threw me in a loop a little bit here because the references that they were given, you have Chewie from the original trilogy. This Chewie is from the sequels right over to the left. And then at the bottom, the asset they're referring to in game, this is Clone Wars Chewbacca. And as you can see, the new Chewbacca, Clone Wars Chewbacca, looks a lot better. The bandolier looks cooler. The hair is more, it looks more luscious. I should say this looks a lot more accurate to that versus this again. More of an animated look. They're kind of looks like they're transitioning from the more cartoony to something a little bit more live actiony. So, but the question is, as you see, it's Chewbacca rework. There's no timestamps. That means it's probably something a little bit more recent, not something pre-2020. That's my guesstimation here. You think they would have done something like this for the Tarful release last year when the Wookiees finally got an identity in the game? Granted, they're not great. They're just, mediocre, but you would think they would have done something. So again, keep in the back of your mind, there maybe was discussion, hey, let's start working on a Clone Wars Chewie rework or Chewbacca rework. Again, I'm just a little bit confused of all this. Unless, is this maybe the Chewbacca, like the old school PvE one? I don't know. It just, again, we don't know. It's a Chewbacca, and we don't have any Chewbaccas that look like this in game. So another one that kind of threw me in for a loop. And then this one right here really starts making things a lot more interesting. So we have a Grand Master Yoda rework that was submitted to Lucasfilm for approval. These are the references. And as we saw in the data mines about a month or two ago, we saw there was something new coming of Grand Master Yoda, right? We saw a new profile pic. The game was updated. The said new profile pic was added to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, but the 3D model didn't change. It was still this old current asset, the Clone Wars animated look. And then they updated the game, and then they took away the updated profile picture, which is more of the live action look. So I don't know if maybe just they weren't on the same page or all over the place and like, oh shoot, you guys weren't supposed to do that too early. But here you go. This is your full look on whatever they have behind the scenes, the Grandmaster Yoda rework, at least the art rework at the minimum, which again, maybe with the update for the Naboo raid, maybe they'll drop this on us here. But again, I don't know if Yoda needs a full-on rework, as I've said. I think at the minimum, he needs 1 or 2 unique abilities. That's crazy. He's the only legendary character without a unique ability. I mean, what characters come out nowadays without unique abilities, really? To be frank, maybe an Omicron, maybe making the lead a little bit better. But here you go. We were wondering what the heck's going on. So there's something going on, but I don't know what's going on their production cycle with this guy. But it's cool seeing the look. This definitely looks a bit more accurate to the live action look. I know some people like the Clone Wars look. I guess I'm more partial to the live action look here. And then moving on, let's talk about some ship related things here. So check this out. This looks to be a bit older. So right here, you see a timestamp 2016. So it seems like if it's maybe like pre-2020, 2021, they have like timestamps on them for the year, whereas the newer ones, like for example, the Grandmaster, which seems to be pretty recent. I think we can agree this is something that's recent going on here. There's no year timestamp unless they happen to be in the year, 92,921. I don't know. But here's Krennic Shuttle. So 2016, this is around the time of Rogue One, probably around the time of when they were developing ships, right before the ships feature came out, because ships came out, late 2016, early 2017, right? If my recollection's correct here. So they have probably a bunch of ship assets that we don't know about. Cool to see they at least have something for Krennic, so something they can pull from their archives if they ever wanted to maybe make the Empire fleet better. You got Krennic, throw him in there in his ship. So they have the assets. Again, they have tons of assets that we might never see the light of day, or things that just need to find the right place, right time to finally release them. Check this out. About, I'm guessing 2019 again, running as an assumption, General Grievous's Soulless One fighter. So I'm not too sure how much to look into this here, because, well, we already have a capital ship for General Grievous, right? The Malevolence. I mean, could they ever add another ship for Grievous the pilot so he has a capital ship and he has an actual ship? I find it unlikely, but again, this is probably one of those assets they had, and then, for some reason, my mind keeps telling me, did this make an appearance anywhere inside of, like, maybe Geonosis territorials? I can't quite remember, but nonetheless, this would be cool to see. You know what they could do? We're seeing duplicates of Qui-Gon. What if they make a new General Grievous? I mean, it's not out of the question now. Qui-Gon and Master Qui-Gon, there's not really any difference between them from a lore perspective. They can make another General Grievous, and then they can give him a ship. So I think maybe that's the way to work around it. But again, he's sitting in the archives. People want to see that come to life. Moving on here. This one I'm not going to look too much into as well, because this is the droid gunship that we primarily see a lot in the territory battles, Geonosis territories, as well as just Rise of the Empire as well. But if we are going to get new Separatist stuff, like we're speculating this year, it's probably going to be a Separatist capital ship if it is happening, or maybe a Galactic Republic. We would need more Separatist droid ships. So a gunship. Here's the assets made around 2019 for submission. It looks like, again, I'm just guessing on these dates. Padawan Anakin. Now, I do believe we'll get a new Anakin Skywalker around whatever the next anniversary is for Attack of the Clones. Just like they did some Phantom Menace stuff, added a new Obi-Wan, added a new Qui-Gon. I think we do see Anakin Doe inside the Padme Amidala event, and I believe we also see this in Geonosis territory. I was very certain we see it in Geonosis territory, especially like later in the Dark Side campaign. So again, something to show here that they have something, but you know, this might just be stuck in PvE land. And then lastly, and certainly not leastly, my senores, a Trade Federation capital ship. So at the very minimum, this confirms they have something in their vault, sitting and waiting, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But here's what it would look like if they did add to the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Now, my first hunch is, you know, when someone was asking me, you know, is this in game? You know, is this maybe, you know, the cat's out the bag too early? Is this a leak? My only thing that I'm riding on is that this says 2016 in the front. So this maybe was something early in development when they were maybe making the first ships feature. Maybe they were considering Newt Gunnery for a capital ship for the Trade Federation. But even besides this timestamp, which might give it away, this just maybe sitting in the archives for a long time and might not see the light of day. Does a new gunnery capital ship sound too good to be true? Like, that's like, everyone's got a new gunnery. If they're gonna do a new separatist capital ship, they probably want to make it trench. They want a conquest unit. They want to, you know, make it a little bit more difficult to acquire. But nonetheless, man, at the minimum, what I'm really hoping to see, I mean, this would be cool to see, of course. A lot of people have Newt Gunnery, and, you know, that's what we want to see probably, but, you know, I don't think they're going to be that generous with us. I do think we're going to see this Grandmaster Yoda thing soon, whether or not they let the cat out of the bag too early. Maybe they're teasing us. I don't know. And I'm also hoping for the full-on Darth Maul rework. We have the art assets. Can we get the new meat on him? If we're not going to get it during the Phantom Menace anniversary, that's a big letdown. But I got some hope. We have at least one more major update with the Naboo raid, and they might just throw that in to kind of have the last hurrah, the big shebang, before they send us out of the Phantom Menace celebration. But anyways, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Hopefully some of this stuff is interesting to you at the minimum. I think it's just a really cool behind the scenes, seeing a very small part of the approval process that they're going through, and also kind of explaining some stuff I've said in the past, where it's not just unique to Galaxy Heroes. A lot of other games, Marvel Strike Force, for example, this is the cousin game to this game, or distant cousin, I should say, to Galaxy Heroes. They probably have a ton of assets for Marvel characters and backgrounds that aren't coming to the game, or maybe it's gonna be a long time, but they just do it in advance so they're ready whenever that time is to shine. And likewise, my friend, it's time for you guys to shine bright like a diamond. I don't know why that was my reference, but anyways, leave that like, comment down below, subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And more importantly, always remember, it's great to be the Empire today.